What's up YouTube? It's DarkSpyro here and happy Halloween. I hope you're enjoying your weekend so far. We have another monthly deck profile for you. Of course it's a Buster Blader deck, but there's no Dragoon this time. I've been getting lots of comments on people wanting to see a version without Verte and Dragoon, so this is just to appease most of you, and I do kind of play this version on the side. Personally, I'm still playing my Red-Eyes Dark Dragoon version of this deck, and if you want to see what that looks like, I have a combo tutorial and the deck profile in the description below. If you like this video, I hope you smash that like button, leave a comment down below for any other versions of this deck you want to see. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and with all of this out of the way, let's dive on into the Buster Blader core. For the Buster Blader core, we're running 2 copies of Buster Blader and 1 copy of the Retrain. Typically I run a 3-in-1 package, or you can even do a 2-in-2. For this variant, I don't really want to see Blader as often, but I'm still running Destruction Swordsman Fusion, so we do kind of want to see more of the OG Buster Blader than the Retrain. You can send either of them off of memories. You don't really need the Destruction Swordmaster for that, but it can't help if you want to be able to send both. If you want to optimize on less bricking, this is a good way to go. We also have triple copies of Buster Wealth and 1 copy of Dragon Buster Destruction Sword in this variant with a Wizard Buster Destruction Sword. Wizard is a nice graveyard lockdown and it helps you keep recovering either a Wealth or Dragon Buster, or even bringing Protector Well back to the extra deck. It's a nice card to keep attaching to your Buster Blader with the effect of Buster Dragon, so that you have options with either Dragon Buster or Wizard. That's it for the Buster Blader core. Let's go into the Rockets next. Now I'm still playing Quick Launch and Wararfau in this deck, so 2 copies of Rocket Synchron is very clutch. Having 1 is not enough, 3 might be bricky, so 2 seems to be a perfect ratio. For this variant we're playing a lot more Rockets. We got 2 Rocket Tracers for level 4s, and to continue with the level 4s we have 1 Rocket Recharger. So usually we play 1 Tracer and 1 Recharger, and I wanted to bump it up to 2. You could bump it up to 3, but just for space reasons I have 2 here, and instead of a second Recharger I wanted a different name, and we decided to go with Silver Rocket Dragon. And of course the last rocket here is Router Dragon. It's not too big of a rocket package here, but it's pretty effective, I'm not gonna lie. Before we move on into the extenders, I want to show you a couple more combo starters we have here. We got triple copies of Starlight Safer. Since this deck does not feature Dragoon whatsoever, I wanted to kind of maximize on my combo starters here. So I figure if we're not going to see Buster Wealth, I'd rather see something like Safer. This way we can actually achieve most of our combos. Even if you don't use him as a starter, I showcased in combos where he's just a good extender, so he's good even if you have multiple copies in your hand. We also have another little 2-card combo in here that helps extend and combo start, of course. It's just your typical Black Metal Dragon and Red-Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. Very standard for Dragon Link combos, and I'm a Red-Eyes player, so I kind of wanted to feature this in here anyways. And for the main theme of this deck, we have Fallen of Albaz. Of course, that is what this profile is kind of based off of. This is a Buster Blader Albaz version, and we only need 2 copies of him for this to work. He's also been reprinted in the Megatins as an ultra rare, so he's very cheap to pick up now. You don't really need to play 3 copies of Fallen of Albaz, but you can if you want to. Thanks to the recent Megatins that we just opened, link in the description below. I do have a full play set of Albaz, so I could get away with throwing a 3rd one in here. Let's go on into the rest of the extenders. So since this is also a Dragon Link based deck, we got 1 Black Dragon Cloud Serpent, White Dragon Wyvern Burster. These 2 are here for obvious reasons. They're great extenders, they're good at recurring resources. You all know this song and dance for these 2 by now. Got 2 copies of Noctovision Dragon as well. The majority of our deck is Dark Dragons, so he's very free card to special summon, and he has some good graveyard effects as well. And of course, he can draw you a card when you link him away. Don't want 3 because he is only once per turn on a special summon, so gotta be careful with that. And for the last 3 monsters here, we have 1 Omni Dragon Brotar, 1 Mana Dragon Zernatron, and 1 Chaos Dragon Levianeer. Look at that, everybody. The family's all here. This is actually a cool little package here. He's here for Shooting Riser. He's also here for 1-for-1, and of course, Wararfau. And Chaos Dragon Levianeers for either rank 8 plays, for hand ripping, special summoning, destroying cards, you name it. He's here for lots of stuff because Levy is broken. That's it for the monsters. Let's move on into the spells next. For the draw engine, we're playing 3 copies of Chaos Space. As I showed you guys in the combo tutorial, it's very good at finding very critical cards, and it gets your resources back from Banish Zone, and it can help draw cards, of course. All of these are great, and it's kind of better than just hoping for a prayer on something like Allure of Darkness or X-Trav or any of those more popular cards. I also just like Chaos Space for bringing out either Levy or the Chaos Babies easily. And like I showed before, this is the first half of one of our 2-card combos. We got triple copies of Quick Launch here. This card is amazing with Wararthal, but on its own it's still really good. Spell once per turn, you can bring out any rocket from the deck. And of course we have the field spell, Boot Sector Launch. Boot allows you to special summon up to 2 rocket monsters with different names from your hand, which is obviously nice. The other effect is also really good. If your opponent controls 4 monsters, you can special summon monsters up to the difference. If they have like 4 monsters on the field, you got 3 different names for rockets in the grave. You can special summon all 3 of them. Also, all rockets on the field will gain 300 attack and defense as well. It's not that relevant, but it's still there. And part 2 for the 2-card combo, of course, Wararthal. If you haven't seen the 2-card combo with Quick Launch and Wararthal, I'm going to put it in a card right up here. So click this little box up here and it'll take you to the 2-card combo for Quick Launch and Wararthal. For some extenders here, we got 2 copies of World Legacy Guard Dragon. For the last 3 spells, they're all 1-ofs. We have a 1-for-1 here. This card's pretty self-explanatory. It's just another Quick Launch. Essentially, you can bring out Brotar or something. Use Wararthal on that, bring out your Buster Whelp, normal summon, you're good to go. We got Destruction Swordsman Fusion here. It's not as effective, not having the Dragoon package in my opinion, because of the Dark Paladin or Dark Magician in general, so you kind of lose out on that aspect, but it's still really good for super polying your opponent and just to kind of like set up your graveyard and all that stuff. The last one here is Branded in White. This is another secret spice in here. This card allows you to fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as materials, including a dragon monster. You can also banish monsters from your graveyard as materials if you use Fallen of Albaz as fusion material from your hand, or by banishing itself from the graveyard, which is pretty cool. It also has another effect. It says during the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there to activate the effect of Fallen of Albaz this turn, you can set this card. And they're each hard ones per turn on the effects. But that's pretty cool because Fallen of Albaz, to do the fusion summon, you need to discard a card. So if you discard Branded in White, you just get to reset it again and then do the fusion summon again. Well, let's move on into the traps, which is the final section of the deck. For the traps, we got triple copies of the win button. I've gone over this so many times, but if you have Prologue set and Heraldic Seals on the field, you're golden with this. But for the other half of that Prologue combo here, we're going to need Destruction Sword Memories. With Prologue, we can bring out Buster Dragon, and then sending this for cost off of Prologue, we can bring out the Fusion Monster, which is Buster Blair, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman. You can also bring him out with Branded in White, or of course the Fusion spell, but this card's still really nice to have at too, because you can also special summon Blader from your deck. And to help us find our traps a little bit quicker, we got 2 copies of Trap Trick here. I find depending on the ratio and just how it fits the build, you can play 3 copies of Trap Trick or just 1, but for this one, I find 2 is actually okay. 3 is sometimes a little bricky, not gonna lie. 2 copies of Trap Trick seems okay for me. And for the final cards in the whole main deck, we got 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. You gotta love it when you see it, and if you don't, but you have Trap Trick and Prologue at the same time, you can always banish 1, set 1, and you're good to go. Like I said, that's it for the main deck. Let's go into the extra deck next. We're gonna start off the extra deck with the Link monsters, and we have 2 Link 1s, Guard Dragon Pisty and Striker Dragon. Having Striker Dragon limited to 1 a while ago kinda hurt, especially for builds like this, but it's still not that bad. If you have something like Chaos Space, you can keep recurring him back, so not too worried about it. And then of course they have the arrows pointing inwards so that Pisty can go off. And if you don't have Striker up there, if you have World Legacy Guard Dragon, you can still kind of accomplish that anyways. For the Link 2s, we're playing Protector Whelp of the Destruction Swordsman. This card is amazing. I don't know why people are sleeping on it, but for Buster Blader decks, this guy is super clutch. Having the downward pointing arrows is also amazing, and speaking of which, we also have Heraldic Seals to achieve that as well. Heraldic Seals is a great interruption, and he helps us go into further interruptions with Fallen of Albaz. We all know how good Heraldic Seals is. We also have Crystron Halki Fibrax here. This card is also amazing, and that's it for the Link monsters. We're going to go into the Synchro Monsters next. For the Synchro Monsters, we have 5 here as well. We have 1 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. We have 2 copies of Buster Dragon. We have another level 8 in Borlo Savage Dragon, and our level 7 Shooting Riser Dragon. Thanks to Needle Fiber, we can go into Shooting Riser, who helps us go into the rest of these Synchro Monsters fairly easily. But this is a typical Synchro package that I usually run, and I just personally like having Borlo Savage Dragon here for an Omni Negate, and then of course we have another Negate here, and 2 Buster Dragons because you need at least 2. If I could fit in something like Chaos Ruler in here, then I would, but he's over in the side deck so that he can serve a greater purpose for the Xyz package. And speaking of which, I guess I'll show you what I'm running here for these monsters. And I say monsters, but there's only one in here. We only got number 38, Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy. We also have another Xyz monster in the side deck. I want to have at least one in the main deck here. And Hope Harbinger is really good, so I feel that having him here in the main extra deck and then putting another Xyz monster in the side deck with Chaos Ruler, of course, just kind of helps out, and you can obviously swap him out for another card or throw in that package like I just mentioned. And of course you can't play a Buster Blader deck without Buster Blader himself. The extra deck actually doesn't have many fusion monsters despite it being based on fusion monsters. That's because most of them are in the side deck for obvious reasons. I'm going to show you guys what that side deck looks like so you get a better understanding of how this deck works. But before we do that, we got two more cards here, and these are both our targets for Fallen of Albaz. We got Titanclade the Ash Dragon and Albion the Branded Dragon. If you guys want to run more targets in the extra deck instead of in your side deck, then of course you can do that. It is recommended to obviously play as many fusions as possible and make use of Fallen of Albaz. Personally, whenever I bring out Albaz, it's either just for Albion or Titanclade, so it's your choice if you want to run more, but I feel that this is good enough. And for the first time ever, I guess I'll show you guys what one of my side decks looks like. This is more so just a little bonus because everybody's side deck is personal and it depends on your locals or tournament that you're going into, but this is just to give you a gist of like how I run mine. So for the monsters, we're only playing 2 copies of Fantastical Dragon Phantasme, and I'm actually not playing any other monsters in my side deck for this version. I just kind of want a Phantasme just in case. To try and cancel out some of our opponent's draw engine, we got 2 Shared Ride here. Shared Ride's a pretty cheap option just to get your opponent to want to stop adding cards to their hand from either their graveyard or their deck, because they're just going to see you with a little greedy smile on your face drawing cards each time they do. This card's also hard once per turn, so I would not run more than 2. Depending on your area, you may not even need these cards, but you might need 3, so if you need it, it's a pretty cheap option. For the back row hate in this deck, we have 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. Usually I run 3 copies of Twin Twister in the side deck instead of Cosmics, but I'm only really playing Cyclone because we have cards that can actually destroy any back row cards. We don't really need more Twin Twisters or anything like that, so I figured we just run 2 Cosmics here. We have Nutir Servant here. It's great at adding Fallen of Albaz and at popping cards, so you could probably main Nutir Servant and maybe even play 3 copies of it, but I only really want to play 1 in the side deck just as an option. I have another option in here, so I'll show you that next. For traps, we have 1 Dogmatica Punishment. You can actually play multiples of these since we're playing Trap Trick, but I don't like bricking on it. Having at least 1 is good to run, so I run this and Nutir Servant at 1 each, and it just helps push our Fallen of Albaz strategy in the direction we want it to go. The last trap here is Red Reboot. Red Reboot's here just to shut down other trap decks, and you know, it's just a great hand trap, and there's a reason why it's that limited one. That's it for the traps. We're going to go into the extra deck swaps next. Starting with the Xyz package, and we have 1 Divine Dragonite Felgrand and 1 Chaos Ruler the Chaotic Magical Dragon. I mentioned these guys in this talk about Hope Harbinger, and now you see them. We got these here just to kind of swap out some Albaz cards and then talk these guys in. So you can forego the Albaz strategy if you wish. I usually don't, and that's why there's only 2 cards here for the Xyz strategy. And to wrap up the side deck, we're going to go into the fusion monsters. This is our extended Fallen of Albaz strategy. We have 1 Elder Entity Nest, we have 1 Brigand the Glory Dragon, 1 Borreload Furious Dragon, and 1 5-headed dragon. If you want to run these in the extra deck instead of how my extra deck is laid out, well, that's why I'm showing you now. You can swap around the ratios any which way. I feel comfortable with how my extra deck is in my side deck like this, because this all gives me more options. I get another Super Poly target. When Elder Entity Nest is sent to the grave, you get to pop another card, so it's good with Nutir Servant or Punishment. Borreload Furious Dragon is here if you use Albion the Branded Dragon's effect to go into him instead. You can pop one of your face-up monsters and then pop one of their cards, so if he's in the graveyard, you can banish him and special summon one of your Dark Link monsters, but can't use its effect that turn. Still not too bad if you want to bring back either like Pisty or Striker Dragon. Usually I use his effect to pop Albion, then one of their cards, and then in the end phase, since Albion was sent there this turn, I get to either set or add to my hand Brandon White. 5-headed Dragon's here because you can send it off of punishment as cost, and any monster that's under 5k attack that you target will die. And not only that, it's come up a couple times, but you can actually bring him out like as a fusion summon, which is hilarious. Just having a 5k beat stick is so funny, and he's in the side deck because it's not super effective, but it comes up. It's pretty funny. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this variant. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you really enjoyed it, I hope you smash that thumbs up button and leave a comment down below for any other versions of this deck you want to see me make next month. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't hit that button already. And as always, everyone, happy Halloween, and I hope you have a wonderful day.